Okay, so if you're a growing marketing agency, a freelancer, or an e-commerce brand, you've probably hit that wall. You know exactly the one I'm talking about, where managing 10, 20, or even 50 social media accounts stops being a fun puzzle and starts feeling like a high-stakes security nightmare. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to scale that wall safely.
All right, let's dive in. First, we'll talk about what the real problem is here. Then, we'll get into why the platforms are so suspicious in the first place. After that, we'll walk through the common and super risky methods most people try. We'll also look at why schedulers are only half the answer. And finally, we'll cover the professional standard, isolation. And I'll give you a checklist to put it all into practice.
So let's be really clear about this. The number one challenge when you're scaling isn't just finding the time to post for all your clients. Not at all. It's about doing it without getting all of their accounts and your own completely banned. This isn't just about efficiency, folks. This is about survival.
Here's what's happening behind the curtain. Platforms like Facebook and TikTok, they see you log in into all these different accounts from one single device, and their algorithms start connecting the dots. They literally create this invisible web linking all of your clients together. And you know what that means? If one account gets a restriction, maybe for something you didn't even do, the rest can fall just like dominoes. We're talking shadow bans, frozen ad accounts, or even permanent suspensions across your entire client list.
You know, to avoid these traps, we first have to get inside the head of the machine we're up against. Social platforms aren't out to get you personally. You're just getting caught in the crossfire of a much bigger battle.
Think about it from their perspective. Every single day, these platforms are fighting this massive, ongoing war against armies of bots, spammers, and fake accounts. Their automated defense systems have to be incredibly aggressive. And to them, a legitimate social media manager with 20 clients can look an awful lot like a bot farm operator.
Their systems are basically trained to hunt for specific signals, these red flags. They see a bunch of accounts logging in from the same Wi-Fi. That's an IP address overlap. They detect what's called cookie contamination, which is where the digital breadcrumbs from one client session kind of bleed into the next. They even spot repetitive behaviors. But the most important signal, the one most people don't even know about, is browser fingerprinting.
Okay, this right here, this is the silent account killer. Forget your IP address for just a second. Your computer has a unique digital fingerprint. It's based on dozens of tiny little details about your hardware and your software. So even if you use different logins, different emails, the platforms can still see that it's the exact same computer accessing every single account. It is the ultimate tell.
So, knowing all that, let's look at the ways people usually try to solve this. You can think of these as the risky, kind of wobbly rungs on the ladder to becoming a real pro. And hey, a lot of us have tried these, but it's really time to move on.
The classic. The old log in, log out method. We've all started here, right? I mean, the only pro is that it's free. But the cons, they're catastrophic. You're leaving cookie crumbs all over the place, and that browser fingerprint is identical for every single client. Honestly, it's not a matter of if you'll get banned, but when.
Okay, so the next step up the ladder for most people is incognito mode. We think it's some kind of magic invisibility cloak, but it's really not. Sure, it stops some basic cookie contamination, which is fine, but it does absolutely nothing to hide your IP address or that all-important browser fingerprint. To the platforms, you are still sitting at the same desk on the same computer.
All right, now we're getting a little warmer. Using separate Chrome profiles is a big step up. It does keep the cookies separate, and it even lets you stay logged in, which is great. But, and this is the absolute crucial point, it fails on the two biggest fronts. It's still using your single home or office IP address, and it does not isolate the browser fingerprint. All your profiles can still be traced back to one source and get banned all at once.
So what about scheduling tools, like Hootsuite or Buffer? They're the answer, right? Well, kinda. They use the official platform APIs, so they do solve the IP and fingerprint problem for posting content. And they're great for planning out your calendar. But their usefulness pretty much ends right there.
Because let's be real, social media management is not just about publishing posts. It's about engagement. It's about community. You can't use a scheduler for the tasks that actually build that community and drive results, like replying to DMs, leaving authentic comments, managing ad campaigns, or participating in Facebook groups. For all of that stuff, you still have to log in directly, which puts you right back in the danger zone.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If all the common methods are way too risky and the schedulers can't do the most important work, what's left? What are the top-tier agencies and professionals actually using?
Well, the answer, the Pro standard, is a technology called isolation. The top agencies use these specialized tools. They're called anti-detect or cloud browsers to create completely separate, totally virtual browsing environments for every single client account they manage.
And you know, the professional workflow is actually pretty simple in practice. It's really just 3 steps. First, you create an isolated virtual profile for each client. Second, you assign a unique proxy to that profile, which is basically just a clean, dedicated IP address. And third, you stay logged in to that account securely and permanently. No more logging in and out.
So here's the key takeaway. Each one of these virtual profiles appears to Facebook or TikTok as a completely different person, on a completely different computer, in a completely different location. There are no shared fingerprints, no shared IPs, absolutely no way to link client A in New York to client B over in London. It's perfect isolation.
Okay, so now that we know the professional method, let's wrap this all up with a really clear checklist. These are the rules you absolutely need to follow to protect your business and, of course, your client's assets.
First up, never ever mix your personal social media with client work. Isolate everything. Second, when you onboard a new client, warm up their account slowly from its new virtual home. Don't just jump in and spook the algorithm. Third, always use high-quality residential proxies, not those cheap data center VPNs that platforms already have on their block lists. And finally, if you have a team, share access through your isolation tool, never ever by sending passwords over Slack or email.
Oh, and a quick but really important note here, this isn't just for social media managers. If you're running multiple stores on Amazon, eBay, or TikTok Shop, the exact same principles of isolation apply. The goal is always the same. Convince the platform's algorithm that each account is operated by a totally different person.
I want to leave you with this. This quote from the source material really just says it all. Using these basic, flawed methods, it isn't just inefficient, it's a direct gamble with your client's most valuable digital assets. It's a completely unnecessary risk that true professionals simply don't take. So that leaves just one final question for you to think about. When you look at how you're managing your accounts today, you have to ask yourself, is your workflow an asset that's helping you scale safely? Or is it a liability that's just waiting to bring everything crashing down?